There are days that don't go anywhere. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing resolves. Nothing falls apart. You wake up, move through the day, and by the time evening arrives, there's no sense that you've arrived at anything. The day didn't fail, but it didn't lead somewhere either, and that can feel quietly unsettling. Not because something went wrong, but because we're used to days being part of a larger movement. Most people are taught to see days as steps. Steps toward a goal. Steps toward improvement. Steps toward something that will eventually make sense of all this. So when a day doesn't move you forward, it can feel wasted, even if nothing was wrong with it. This episode is about those days. The ordinary ones. The ones that don't build momentum, don't clarify anything, and don't leave you feeling accomplished or inspired. The ones that just happen. You may recognize this feeling. You do what needs to be done. You handle responsibilities. You respond to what shows up. But at the end of the day, there's no takeaway, no lesson, no progress report, no sense of that moved my life forward. And that absence can create discomfort because we're used to asking something of our days. We want them to count. We want them to contribute. We want them to justify themselves. So when a day doesn't go anywhere, the instinct is to judge it. Was I unproductive? Did I waste time? Should I have done more? Those questions assume that days are supposed to lead somewhere. But what if they aren't? What if some days are complete simply by being lived? Days that don't go anywhere often show up during transitions, when you're no longer pushing towards something new, but you haven't replaced that push with anything else. You're not stuck. You're not waiting. You're just living without trajectory. And without trajectory, days stop stacking. They stop accumulating meaning. They don't build toward a future payoff. They exist in isolation, and that can feel uncomfortable if you're used to momentum. Momentum makes days feel connected. Even hard days feel justified if they're part of progress. Without momentum, days stand alone. And standing alone can feel empty, even if the day itself was fine. You might notice this especially in the middle of the day. That moment when you pause and realize you're not rushing toward anything. You're not late. You're not early. You're just here. And that realization can bring a strange mix of relief and discomfort. Relief because there's no pressure. Discomfort because pressure used to organize your life. Pressure told you what mattered. Without it, you're left with the raw experience of the day. And raw experience doesn't announce its importance. It doesn't tell you whether it counts. It just happens. Days that don't go anywhere also change how you relate to time. Time feels flatter, not slow, not fast, just level. There's no buildup, no crescendo. Morning blends into afternoon. Afternoon blends into evening. And when the day ends, it doesn't feel complete or incomplete. It just ends. This can feel unsettling if you're used to days having arcs. Beginnings, middle, endings that mean something. But not every day has an arc. Some days are just movement without narrative. And that doesn't mean they're wrong. It means they're ordinary. We're rarely taught how to be with ordinary time. We're taught to optimize it, to fill it, to improve it. So when a day resists optimization, it can feel like a personal failure. But it isn't. It's a different mode of living. Days that don't go anywhere often appear once life stops being about becoming. When you're no longer chasing a version of yourself. When you're no longer measuring your life against milestones. When you're no longer orienting everything toward later. Without that orientation, days don't need to prove themselves. And that can feel disorienting at first, because proving yourself was familiar. You may notice that on these days, motivation feels unnecessary. Not absent, just unnecessary. You're not avoiding action. You're just not compelled. You do what needs doing. And then there's space. Space that doesn't automatically fill itself. This is often where people try to make the day go somewhere. They add tasks. They scroll. They distract themselves. Not because they want to, but because stillness feels too undefined. A day that doesn't go anywhere asks something different of you. It asks you to let the day be what it is. Not a step, not a story, just a day. And that can feel uncomfortable if you've spent years turning days into progress. Days that don't go anywhere also affect how you relate to yourself. You're not earning approval. You're not proving competence. You're not reinforcing identity. You're just existing, and existing without performance can feel strange. Who am I today if nothing is being built? That question often arises quietly, and it doesn't need an answer, because you're not meant to be anything on those days. You're meant to be present. Presence doesn't accumulate. It doesn't leave evidence. It doesn't give you something to point to. It simply happens. Days that don't go anywhere also soften how you relate to meaning. Meaning isn't produced. It isn't extracted. It might show up in a small moment, a conversation, a detail, a pause, or it might not. And either way, the day is complete. This is a difficult adjustment for people who are used to living with purpose. Purpose makes days feel important. Without it, importance becomes quieter. But quieter doesn't mean absent. It means unannounced. You may notice that after a series of days that don't go anywhere, something shifts. Not dramatically, not obviously. You feel less rushed, less inclined to explain yourself, less concerned with how your life looks from the outside. These changes don't come from doing anything differently. They come from letting time be ordinary, from letting days pass without demanding more from them. This is not stagnation. Stagnation implies resistance. Days that don't go anywhere aren't resisted. They're allowed. They're lived. And life continues. Not upward, not forward, but on. This episode isn't suggesting that every day should be empty of direction. Direction will still appear when it's needed. Projects happen. Changes happen. Momentum returns sometimes. But momentum doesn't need to be constant. And days don't need to justify themselves to matter. Living in the space between means learning how to be with days that don't announce themselves. Days that don't teach you anything. Days that don't lead to clarity. Days that don't change your life. And realizing that those days are not a problem to solve. They are life. If you're listening to this and recognizing your own days, quiet, functional, unremarkable, and wondering if something is missing, you're not alone. Nothing is wrong with you. You're just living without turning every day into a step. And that's not a failure. It's a different rhythm. If this reflection helped you feel less uneasy about ordinary days, you're welcome to stay with the season as it continues. Liking the video helps it reach others who may feel unsettled by days that don't seem to go anywhere. And if someone you care about feels frustrated by a lack of progress but not unhappy, you're welcome to share this with them. Only if it feels right. Not every day needs to move you forward. Some days just need to be lived. And that is enough.